how to make a paper star lantern. Bear with me, I've never made a video before, but I've had several people request this, finding written instructions a little harder to follow. So I'm going to try to do this in video form. We're going to make a lantern that's about this size, which is about 6 inches across. And to do that, we'll use a 12 by 12 piece of paper. It's also possible to make smaller lanterns or very large lanterns. This one I just find is a good size to put on the table and whatnot. This paper for this lantern, just to be clear, is a little bit different. It's made from a thicker watercolor paper, like a heavy duty watercolor paper that's been painted with watercolor on one side, and the other side, after the watercolor dried, had been wiped with canola oil actually. So on the flip side of the watercolored side, I just rubbed canola oil on there, wiped it off with a paper towel, and let it dry overnight before I then folded the lantern. This gives it a kind of, when there's a lantern in there, a kind of magical, translucent, glowing quality that just a regular piece of paper won't have. Somebody was requesting this video as soon as possible, so I thought I would just do that using this regular paper that I got, which is just an ordinary piece of scrapbook paper that you can buy at any craft store. So it's white on one side and printed on the other side, which is good, so because the folds matter which direction they made. In addition to your piece of paper, you'll need a pencil, a bone folder, not completely necessary, but it does help. This is Martha Stewart, and I think I just got this at a local craft store. A pair of scissors and a ruler, which is to some extent also not totally necessary. So let us begin. You'll start with this 12 by 12 piece of paper face up, the printed side face up, and we'll fold it into what will ultimately be 8 wedges. We'll begin by folding it in half. With the thinner paper, I should add, the bone folder isn't as necessary. When using the thicker cardstock, the creases will be noticeably more, I guess, jagged when you're using a thicker paper. So fold that in half in both directions. This is my cat. And then we'll fold on the diagonal, lining these up as precisely as possible again. And the other diagonal as well. And now we have, I don't know if it's completely clear, but a sort of a pie with 8 wedges. We'll turn that paper over, and we want to turn that 8 wedged pie into a 16 wedged pie by dividing each of these wedges in half. This is a little tricky, so it's good we're doing a video, easier to explain. What we're going to do is line the this fold here, the short fold, up along with the long fold that's directly next to it. Tricky. To do this, I'm lining up actually 3 different things. I can align this edge here, which is perpendicular to that, not all that clear to see. But what we're going to look for instead is we're going to line this fold, this crease up here, with the fold underneath, so that the line here will continue exactly with the line here, and at 90 degrees we're going to see the same thing over here. So I'm going to line these up as precisely as possible so that this line runs right into here, this line runs right into here. Fold that, and we'll do that 4 times. This can be tricky to see, especially if your paper is patterned. On the watercolor paper, when the crease is made, it was actually much clearer because the folds are more obvious. And you'll notice I folded those from this corner this way, and these next 2 folds I'll have to do from the other corner. But the same idea, lining up this fold and this fold as precisely as possible. You just keep adjusting until it's right. just like this. And now, using either a ruler or just the edge of the paper, I tend to just use the edge of the paper, but if you want to use a ruler, you can. You're going to mark these edges that are sticking out to cut them off. We're effectively turning our square into an octagon by doing this. You can either unfold and refold to get these other two corners, or you can just flip it over. Mark these here. And then using our scissors, we'll cut off those four corners. You can actually even skip marking with a pencil and just cut directly on this line if you'd like. I just do the pencil so that people who feel more comfortable that way know that that's an option. I'm doing this rather quickly, so this video isn't incredibly long. My cats are fighting in the background. They're really having fun, it's okay. I would normally take a little more time and be more precise with these cuts, but this seems to be working fairly well. Once we have those corners removed, we'll have our paper with the printed side down, and we're going to fold these folds now into the center to make a square. This is a little tricky. Right here, well, we have these two corners here. We're going to go one fold out from here to these points, and we're going to fold this paper down at the corners here until this edge aligns with this edge, like so. And the same with this one. If anything, you should have a little bit of the line underneath showing. You don't want to cross over the line, you want to stay a little bit to the side of it here. We'll do that again on the fold next to it. Again, you'll see there's a little bit of white showing through. It's better to have a tiny gap there than to have them cross over. If they cross over, you'll have difficulty folding the next step. So we'll do this all four corners around. Whoops. And as you can see, this wasn't so precisely cut. I think these aren't exactly lining up. The better those line up, the more beautiful your lantern is going to be. But this will do for the sake of demonstration. We'll now unfold that square, rotate slightly, and we're going to do the same thing again. These 2 points here, folding in, making a square that's going to cross over the previous square. And there you have it. Okay, not much left, a couple more steps. We're going to flip this over. At the corners, you'll see there's already a crease here, not so visible perhaps, and we're going to just emphasize that crease, folding these corners back, all four of them. And this crease already exists. We're not making this anew, it is already there. What we're going to do next is the same thing with the four corners that are inside. Corners, you say? Indeed, they're right here. So if I set my hand right in the middle, I'm going to take this corner and turn this around now so you can see. I'm going to pull it up. These folds are already in the paper. Flip it out this way and kind of push it down in the center. The fold that doesn't already exist is the one right here, where we're going to just sort of squeeze, Trying to make this as pointy as possible right at the corner, right there. And the same thing here. So I'm pinching here to fold this corner. So I'm going to do that now 4 times, turning it here, pulling from the center over to the back. Same thing, push it up, forming like a kite, and then pulling that down. These will get kind of not so precise at the end, so that's where the pinching to make it as clean and crisp as we'd like it to be. Turn again. The paper may start to crumple at the bottom a little bit, or these creases may start to bend in the opposite direction of where you want them to be. So you can sort of pop them. This point here is popping out, and this one should be pushed in. So we can straighten that paper, those creases while we're doing this. I don't know if this is clear, if my hands are just in the way. And when we get to the last one, it often happens here, especially when working with thicker paper, that the paper can be torn, especially at the last one, because it's starting to get tighter. So just move very slowly and gently and pop these into place. And the star has been formed. The bottom is still really pointy and doesn't sit, obviously. You can just sort of jam this down onto the table, or you can reach inside and gently push these creases out like this. Forming the base of your lantern. You can make these tall, or you can push them down more to make your lantern a bit more squat, like so. I guess you could also use it as a container and not necessarily a lantern, but there you have it. If using as a lantern, I'd recommend putting a glass votive inside there, or you can use those new flickering electrical candles if you have fear of fire. Although I have had these now for years, and I burn candles in them and nothing's gone up in flame, but I'm not making any promises. As with all flammable objects, use caution. There you have it. Paper star lanterns. Good luck.